Shalom, Yasharala. This is your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of great millstone that taught us this truth and that ruled well. And salutation, much love for you, I can pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this here article real fast, as these prophecies are speaking loud and clear every day. We see as we're getting closer and closer and closer to the end. All right, it says, as Russia-EU relations become even more strained, new poll reveals big majority of Germans desire closer relationship with Moscow. All right. And if you understand how these things work out, you have two different blocks. All right. You have the NATO block and you have the Russian block. Right. And they're basically opposed. Really, it's the NATO is opposed against Russia. All right. And part of NATO and the EU would be, like Germany is a part of that. All right. It says a survey by Berlin pollsters, Forza has revealed that almost 2/3 of Germans want an improved relationship with Russia. This comes after a year in which the two countries have cooperated and clashed heads in equal measures. Commissioned by the German Committee on Eastern Europe Economic Relations, an interest group that pushes Berlin to trade more with the east of the continent, the poll shows that the majority, 62% of Germans, want to improve the country's relationship with Russia. All right, because ultimately it's actually benefiting them more than just saying, oh, this is my friend. You just got to imagine you got a friend that you call your friend, that's my boy, I'm gonna ride for him, die for him, and whatever, whatnot. But now you're starting to realize that your friend, you got a friend and an enemy. Now your enemy is always coming to you, giving you a heads up on certain things, giving you the hook up on certain things. And then this enemy is only your enemy because it's your friend's enemy, right? But this friend's enemy is giving you the hookup on everything and getting you jobs and, hooking you up with all kind of things. Whereas your friend, all right, is only bringing you down. They're costing you money, costing you time, getting you in trouble, getting you locked up. All right, all kind of different things like that. So at the end of the day, you have to look at who's really benefiting you and who's really taking away from you. All right. It says, if it were up to the wishes of the German population, the EU-Russian relationship would be significantly expanded over many different fields. OA Chair Oliver Hermes said, noting that the people see value in cooperation and closer relations, especially in the economic and energy sector, all right, because these are the things that would benefit them. It says, Hermes also noted that Germans want to see a common European economic space with the inclusion of Russia, which includes finalizing the controversial Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline project and opening the country up to the Moscow-made pandemic jab, Sputnik V, right? But nevertheless, it's spelled out right there. We always talk about this all the time with the Nord Stream 2 pipeline and everything like that, all right? But ultimately, and like I said, this is what's going to benefit the Germans, all right, in the energy sector. The poll was published on Wednesday, the same day the northern German region, Mecklenburg, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, hosted Russia Day. The state, which also called the Western Pomerania in English, was part of the former East Germany and has close ties with Moscow due to the Nord Stream 2. When the pipeline is completed, this place will receive gas from Russia, Leningrad region. All right. Despite close cooperation with the energy sector, Berlin's willingness to defy the U.S. to work with Moscow to achieve economic goals, the relationship between Germany and Russia isn't all positive. All right. In August last year, Russian opposition figure Alexei Navalny was flown to Berlin clinic after falling ill on a flight. German doctors later announced that he had been poisoned with nerve gas, contradicting doctors in Omsk, where he was first treated. All right. The two countries have also clashed over claims that Russia was behind the cyber attacks on German legislators, and most recently over air traffic routes, which propose Lufthansa flights past avoiding Belarusian airspace being rejected by Moscow authorities. So, they still have little small things, but ultimately the things that's going to benefit them economically is what they're looking at, all right? Because they got like I said, you got a friend, all right, that is claiming to be your friend, but he's costing you money, all right, costing you your job, getting you kicked out of your apartment and things like that. Whereas your friend has this enemy where you decide to just take your friend's side and like, well, that's my friend's enemy, so he's my enemy. But then that same enemy is getting you jobs, getting you apartments, getting you to hook up on here and there. You have to start looking at things twice, man. All right, now let's look at the scriptures and what the scriptures is talking about as far as this speaking prophetically. All right, Habakkuk 2 and let me start at verse 2. It says, and Yahweh answered me and said, Write the vision and make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it. All right. And so we're breaking down these prophecies unto you and using these articles and things like that to show you these things clear as day, man. All right. Verse 3 says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. And as we're going to go further along into these precepts and things like that, you'll understand, and looking at, back in the past at, NATO, EU, and America's relationships, all right, they was always had a close bond, and you would never really expect them to go, tit for tat back and forth with one another, all right, and especially having these American allies who banded together to aim against Russia would start turning to Russia for aid and things like that, man. All right. But now it's starting to speak loud and clear, and it's not lying. This is what your front page article news stories are saying, man. All right. It's not a conspiracy. We're not just making this up. We're not so-called pro-Russian, however they call it, sympathizers or anything like that. But like, yo, this is what's being posted in the news. All right. Let's go over real quick to the book of Obadiah 1:7. It says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. All right. And that's, bringing them out to war, because ultimately once America, you have their allies that are doing these different moves. Like, let's say, for instance, Turkey with the S-400, all right, versus the F-35. All right. They tried throwing sanctions on them. Turkey retaliated with the sanctions. All right. Then they just pretty much let that shit go. Then it was like Biden had made a statement about Vladimir Putin, and Erdogan wound up checking him over those things, right? Then you have this situation with Trump and NATO advising them to pay more into the NATO budget, aiming at Germany. And Germany, Angela Merkel was like, nah, we ain't really with that. We got to make sure we can survive before we start putting money into some shit that's going to benefit y'all. Every time y'all go out, it's just we paying the toll and we not benefiting from it, all right? And then now also with the energy sector, you got, sanctions on places like Venezuela where can't nobody buy no oil from them. All right. Then you also got sanctions on Russia where none of your allies can buy oil from them as well either. All right. But then at the same time, because you got sanctions on Venezuela, you as America has to go buy oil from Russia. But then you mad at your own allies for like the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. You see what I'm saying? This is being hypocritical. So it says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee, your allies, have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. So they said they got your back. But now what are they over here doing? Carving out deals with your enemies. All right. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, and there's no understanding in him. So, hey, man, at the same time, the ones that you help prop up, all right, are going to be the same ones that's going to wind up turning on you, man, because they're realizing that you've been feeding them basically GMOs. They eating a lot of food, but they ain't really getting full off of it, man. All right. This is Revelation 17 and 16. All right. It says, the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast. All right. These shall hate the whore. Now, when you go into Revelation 17, you read about the whore that rideth upon the beast. All right. Now, the whore would be America, which is steering the beast. All right. And the beast would be what? NATO and the EU. All right. They're allies as far as going into this, the military wing and everything else like that. How they move together as one unit to push off their agenda. All right. It says, the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So this is pretty much saying the same thing as Obadiah 1:7 was saying about all the men of thy confederacy, your allies. All right. They're going to wind up turning on you. All right. They're going to bring you out to war, man. All right. They're going to be on the opposing side in the day of the battle, man. All right. And you see it's already being set up right now, man. Germany's trying to carve out a way to survive without America and their oil supply and their allies in trade and everything like that, because everything that they can get from or benefit from America, they can benefit even better from dealing with Russia. Everything over there, they way closer, man. All right. But nevertheless, let me grab one more. It's a lot, man. It just slipped my mind. Lord willing, it'll come back to me. But nevertheless, you see how these things are playing out before your eyes, because of the fact, like I said, man. All right, this is the end all be all for America, but they're being deceived. All right, going out towards this here war, man. Their allies are going to wind up turning on them, and as we see these prophecies starting to speak louder and clear, they're becoming more and more to the forefront. All right, let me grab this real quick while it's on my mind. Jeremiah 51:7 says, Babylon have been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. All right, so now, you know, they're starting to wake up from the philosophies, the deals, and things that they wind up carving out with you. All right, and realizing it don't really benefit them as it should benefit them. And they got the bad end of the stick, man. All right, but ultimately they're going to wind up going out on their own and, you know, joining forces with Russia. Let me grab this one precept and we'll close out. This is Ezekiel 38 and verse 7, all right? It says, be thou prepared and prepare thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. All right, so Russia not only is being brought back, you know, to that superpower state, all right, and being an exporter of goods and weapons and natural gas and everything like that, but now it's also being a provider, all right, for these other nations that's starting to cleave unto Russia. All right, so like we started out with Habakkuk, man, the vision is speaking loud and clear right now, man. All right, maybe 15, 20 years ago, you couldn't see Russia exporting anything to anybody else because they was like a third world country. They would have needed imports. All right, but now they're like becoming a major player globally, man. All right, now you have other options than just going, you know, the first you had options of, hey, you can starve out there. You can come and drink off of America's titty, man. And mostly everybody was drinking off of America's titty. But now you're to the point now you have another option. You can either, hey, you can starve out there, you can go on America's titty, or you can go deal with Russia. And this is what a lot of these, a lot of America's allies are starting to see as benefiting them is going to Russia for them to provide and be or give provisions for them. All right. So like I said, I wasn't going to make this long. It just happened to come across that their article and wanted to speak on it. Every time we see these articles like that, man, we're getting closer and closer and closer to the end as we're seeing these prophecies speaking loud and clear, man. It's not that we just, you know, pro-Russian or anything like that or conspiracy theorists. Hey, man, this is what the scripture says is going to happen. And when it is starting to come to pass, what do? We show you these things right before your eyes. So at the end of all be all, you can't be like, oh, I ain't know these things was coming, man. All right. But ultimately, this is only for the elect's eyes, man. All right. Because many prophets and kings desire to see the things that you see and have not seen them. All right. And 2/3 of our people are going to be blinded. And the wicked, they ain't going to understand anyway. So this is only for the elect's eyes, man. All right. So Lord willing, the elect was edified with this here lesson. Until next time, I'm going to say, call halal Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation, much love for you, Aki, and pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Till next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.